Welcome to the Bulldog State of Mind podcast, brought to you by the Fresno State Staff Assembly Executive Committee. Here are your hosts, Belinda Munoz and Melissa Norris.
Welcome back to A Bulldog State of Mind. This, again, is a podcast dedicated to really featuring our incredible staff and faculty that make Fresno State the special place that it is. And today we're honored to be joined by our head coach for Fresno State's women's basketball. Thank you for carving out the time within a very busy schedule to be with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for being patient with me today.
Of course. So you came to the Valley from Alaska with more than 300 wins and even a national championship appearance. But beyond wins, what we've heard most of the culture and leadership you are building here at Fresno State. We're excited to learn more about your journey.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and share it with you guys.
Well, before we jump into basketball specifically, we want to start a little bit with your story. I know you weren't necessarily looking to leave Alaska, so talk to us a little bit about what it was about Fresno State and the community that really drove you to come here.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Alaska for 13 years, and I was born there. It was in a really unique situation. I was born in the hospital that was right across the street from the place that I worked. And I learned how to ice skate at the college. My first basketball game was in the gym that I got to coach in. So it was a place that I had a lot of connection to, and I really loved living in Alaska. And so every year I would get opportunities to leave to the Division I level, and just chose to stay until Fresno State came along. And Garrett Classy, the athletic director, gave me a call and, kind of gave me a different perspective on what I believed Fresno State to be. I kind of lumped all of California into one thing. And, the Central Valley just was not what I thought that it was, in a good way. And so just the culture of this place, the blue collar mentality, a place where, there's, like value in things that I valued. And I went to high school outside of Alaska in Oregon, in like the rural part. And so a lot of this reminded me of that. And that was one of the major factors that I just felt like this is a place where you can raise a family. My wife and I will be happy here. And we're in a place that values the same things we do.
I have to laugh a little bit because you made the comment about California and lumping it all in. I get that so often when I travel and I'm talking to other people, like, oh, you're in California, so it must be X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, I'm in the Valley. So I love hearing that kind of gave a connection for you to your values and your home and your upbringing as well.
So you shared that raising a family in a place that aligns with your values was a major factor. What are those core values, and how do they show up in the ways that you lead your team?
I think my family values to me are, that that's the most important thing, like the faith and family piece. And I felt like this was a place that, really let those things shine, and you didn't have to pretend to be somebody else or believe in something else. And so those are the main things. And then just for, especially with our kids, I want them to learn how to be leaders and to be able to use their voice and things like that. And so, I felt like this is one of those areas. Definitely California has like a Midwest feel almost. And you got all the accessibility of the things that California has, which I think are really important. And I think that give us an advantage being able to live here. But yeah, just those, like that faith and family piece was really big for us. And I just felt Fresno State was kind of the epitome of that. Like this is kind of where the bastion of those things kind of live in this area.
Well, making big moves, that always comes with some challenges. How did that move, I guess, challenge your resilience and kind of your capacity as you're navigating this change?
It was a nightmare, moving from Alaska anywhere is like moving to a different country, and there's so many logistics that go into that. And I was really lucky because my dad was in the logistics business for a really long time. So he knew all the shipping guys in Alaska. They made that as easy as we could have made it. The hard part was the timeline that I needed to be down here, because once I accepted the job, it was already late. A lot of the recruits had already been signed, and there just wasn't very many players available to a program that only had 3 returners on a roster of 15. So we had to sign 12 players in about a month and a half, which normally would take over the course of 2 years, typically, in the sport of basketball. So it was kind of hit the ground running. So when we moved here, we got everything down. All of us assistants rented a house off Blackstone, and we all lived together like a Friends episode. So we would go home, talk about our day, wake up, have coffee together, go to the office, and we'd be there until 11 o'clock at night, trying to get everything ready. So, the move down was intense, but I felt like I still haven't even been to like Yosemite. I don't even know what downtown looks like yet, but it was a whirlwind, but it was an adventure in its own way. We loved it. Like, I'll never forget living with all the assistants in one house. It was just really fun.
Talk about getting to know your team really fast, right?
Yeah.
Well, it built a family, right? Yeah. You got together and you got to spend some time with one another, and you got to, there's nothing like living with someone and really getting to know them, especially when you have that same goal in mind. And
yeah.
We're all out there striving for the same thing, working together, and now able to work together every day.
Yeah.
So family is a top priority for you.
Yeah.
And how do you express that with your players? The importance of the family you build together, and of course the family that you're born.
For us, we want to make it where we are extra parents for them in a way, or mentors. They're going through this like weird time in their life. I don't know how else to explain it, but you're not quite a kid anymore because you're not living at home full time. You're on your own. You're starting to make your own decisions. You've committed to something that's bigger than yourself, and I think that's part of being a family. Is that you make sacrifices for each other, and there's a power dynamic within that family as well. There's the oldest sibling and the youngest, and you kind of have that with seniors or graduate students and incoming freshmen who are 17, 18 years old, and there's a big difference between a 17, 18-year-old kid and a 22, 23-year-old adult, that's kind of seeing some stuff. And we want to help them along in that journey, and we want to help develop them into leaders, because we know that as student athletes, statistically, they have a higher percentage of being into a leadership role somewhere, because they know teamwork, they know working under pressure, they know putting in extra hours and things like that. And I think that with us, all of us had played. My whole staff either played collegiately or professionally. And so we can help them walk through some of those, man, I missed the last shot and I feel terrible and I don't want to go to school, or, and giving them the same, experience that maybe we had, or, hey, you wake up and you don't feel good and you're going to look at your kid in the crib with a dirty diaper and you're still going to have to go in there. You don't get a day off, right? That's the permanent full court press. So just helping them in that, but letting them know, just to go back to what you said about that family dynamic, and that, our door is always open. We're going to be vulnerable with them as long as they're vulnerable and honest with us. And we're going to help them kind of navigate through the challenges of being a student athlete, and then the challenges that are even greater than however small this world is when you get out in the real world and you're a real adult paying your own mortgage and taking care of your kids and things like that.
Well, you quite literally work with your family too. I know you work with your wife. Talk to us a little bit about what that's like.
Yeah, we tried that out. We eased our way into this. We got married, almost 7 years ago now. And she, was a coach. She coached at a top 25 program in Florida. And so we long distance dated from Anchorage, Alaska to Fort Myers, Florida. And that was its own adventure. And when she left everything to come be with me in Alaska, and took the first year off of coaching so that we could do the marriage thing and just be husband and wife. And then the next year she started as volunteer and would come in every now and then, and she would talk to the girls, and she was kind of a softer voice for them, and they got to see a softer side of me, which I think was really beneficial. And then she moved into like more of a full-time role. And so, that's when I was like, oh, this is great. Like, we get to see each other. We always talk about basketball anyway, so why not talk about the team? And then when I looked to leave Alaska, that was a non-negotiable for me, that I wasn't going to take a job that my wife couldn't be part of. So fortunately enough, this was the place that it worked out, and it's just been great. She's such a good coach, and she's such a good leader for these young women. We're really blessed to have her.
Wow, that's an exciting story. And, when we think about family, you are a role model for them, and they see what you're doing. So your team sees the dynamics in your family and the way that you guys work together, and the good and the bad, right? The good and bad, and you get to celebrate all the wins, and you get to, be together when there's not a win, or when there's challenges that come along. So that's you're teaching them so much more than just the sport of basketball, and that in itself is, you should be proud of that.
Oh, thank you.
Pat on your back for doing that, and being able to work with your wife like that, and your children. Your children come to campus sometimes, right? Yeah.
No, my daughter plays basketball and volleyball, and I think we'll probably lose her to volleyball. And my son is a basketball fanatic, loves the game. And, I just really enjoy being able to watch them with our team. And, being able to be around that population is very rare. I think 1% of basketball players get to compete at this level. And you have to give up so much of your life to be able to get here. And so for them just to be around that crowd, to see if that's what they really want. I don't really care if my kids want to play college basketball or pro. It does not matter to me, as long as whatever they do it to the best of their ability or whatever their passion is. It just so happens there's sports, but I just, one thing our girls do before every game, well, at least now we're on a 4-game winning streak, so we're hot, but they do each other's hair. So they'll do the braids, and they put different color ribbons in it. I don't know diddly about any of that. So I just let them take stake with it, right? But my daughter loves it. So she'll go in there with them, on this last road trip. She went into the hotel room, and they're all doing their hair, and they're in like a line, and so she's doing somebody's hair and somebody's doing hers. And, just for them to be around that, it's a win, man. I try to cherish these moments.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That is a very special moment. So you work with your wife, your kids come to campus and go to the games, and at the end of the night, how do you go home? And I'm sure there's a little bit of talk about the game or how things went at practice, but what do you do for your family or how do you shut things off when it's that time to just spend time with the family?
Yeah, I try to knock, game film out that night and just get it done so that I can focus on everything but basketball. And if I don't, sometimes I'll wait and do it early in the morning or something like that. But, I think it depends if it's a win or a loss. And win, I'm a great guy to be around. I'm a fun time. But on a loss, that's where I really try to really focus on, okay, I'm going to shut this part out, even though it's awful. But, my kids couldn't care less. They're not going to remember this. They're not going to remember what the game was like past 48 hours. And I got to be dad, and I got to shut that off and be the best version of, my dad's self that I can, or my husband's self. Because I know the losses are really hard on my wife as well. She probably takes them harder than I do. And just, go home, not think about it, be husband and wife, dad, play a board game or sit and watch a movie, make some popcorn or something like that. Those are the things that I really enjoy doing. And honestly, it's healthy for me to get my mind off of the emotional roller coaster of a season like that.
What do you do to encourage your players to do the same?
Win or lose, I tell them at midnight it's over. Don't get too high because of a win. We had a really big win against Boise State, our last home game, and it was great. I mean, you'd have thought that champagne was about to burst and the whole thing, but that feeling's good and you want to protect it, but you can't let it dictate what your next day is going to look like. You got to get back to work and get ready for your next opponent. And I think the same thing with a loss. That instant feeling is going to feel the same way. But after midnight, that game's over and you got to move on and you got to get ready for your next opponent or, your next improvement that you want to make as a player or as a leader.
Well, I imagine it's a big focus on balance, right? Because it's like you want to get them to go after all of those wins and challenge themselves and push themselves. But it's also giving yourself a little bit of grace that sometimes it doesn't happen the way we hope. And I think that's very reflective of life, right? It's that roller coaster, yes, within the season, but these things happen in our lives too. So it's kind of training them early for a lot of those things they're going to face beyond the court too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird spot to be in because to get to this level, you had to dedicate your life to get to it. So a lot of your identity is wrapped up in the success and failures of the one thing that you've always been told you're the best at, you've gotten a scholarship for, you decided not to go to birthday parties and sleepovers and all this kind of stuff to get good at this or to get elite at this, and to not feel absolutely terrible when it doesn't go your way, because it has for a lot of your life. And that you're representing the university, that we say this creed before every game of who we represent, and it's the people of the Valley, the university, and our families. And when that doesn't go right, it's sometimes it can be embarrassing or humiliating and those types of things. And I just think like it is a good lesson for your life. You're going to be in a position where, as a parent, as a leader, as a teammate, a friend, you're going to fail, and you got to be able to learn how to handle that and not wrap your identity up in that.
So I know that one of the things we had talked about is the importance of a degree with your players. Why is that message so important to your program?
I think the degree is kind of, a pathway into, especially a leadership position. But I think that it opens up a broader range of goals for yourself, academically, from a business standpoint. I think it affects your family. But I think of the sport of basketball, and anyways, a reason why I took this job was when we talk about those values. I grew up in a very poor household where I knew my only path to college was going to be through basketball. And so I don't want that to ever get confused where we're here to play basketball and academics come second. We're here to get a degree, and we happen to be very good basketball players. And so we want to maximize that time as much as we can through the 4 years of eligibility that we get. But make no mistake, when they leave this program, I want them to give as good an effort in the classroom as they did on the floor. And that's not just coaches speak. We hold them to the fire on that. Our GPA last semester as a team was just over a 3.5. And, that's the standard. That's not something that we, wave a flag around. I mean, if you're going to play for us, that's the standard of the program. And we want to make sure that you get your degree and be able to use it for your family.
I think it comes back to what you said too about that identity so often gets wrapped into being a basketball player. It reminds them of all the other areas that they're growing, and the pride that they have in that degree, I think, is huge. So kudos to you, I think, for being able to help them translate that through their experience while they're here at Fresno State too.
Thank you.
It is, because it's so short-lived, right? They come here. I mean, they've been doing this for most of their life. They come here, they do this program, and then it's like, what's next? And so that degree is so important. And granted, yes, they could get into coaching, or they can get into, take it as far as they want to. But, it also shows them that it's okay if you decide to go in a different direction, that you're going to have a degree, and then you go in the direction of your path that is set for you. So, so important, such an important thing. And your children see this.
Yeah.
They see the importance of grades and and college and what all that means. So it's you're providing them this big world of just so many different things, and you're giving them outlets on how to for your mental health and wellness as well, and making sure that you take those opportunities and you unwind and you celebrate the wins and you come together as a team in the losses and you move forward. Great leadership. I mean, gosh, I can imagine where all of your players are going to be someday. So I'm sure they're going to go pretty far. So kudos to you.
We're proud of them.
So when you talk about Bulldog grit, what does that mean in terms of mental health? And, well, what does that mean regarding mental health?
I think from, when we think of grit, we think of like toughness and doing really hard things physically, and I think that that also includes like the mental aspect of it. Basketball is a really unique sport. It's not like a lot of the other ones. Dang near every other sport is a 1 semester sport. You show up and you finish at one of the 2 semesters. Basketball goes all year long, and you're here in summer for summer workouts, training camp, and then you go through your fall season, and then really the tail end of league and postseason that doesn't get over until beginning of April. So this is a really long grind of not only the physical, but you're being corrected from the summer until March, April, and for a young person, for anybody, that's really difficult. And then you have to think of it too, where every 18-year-old kid that comes here was the best player from where they came from. They were told how great they were. They were their name in the newspaper every day, and they get to college and now they got to try to do the same thing against grown people that have already gone through the challenges that they went through. They've already gone through, the hardest physical thing that they've ever done. And then they're getting their butt kicked when they show up. And then it's like this huge identity crisis, and you're challenging yourself. Can I do this? Am I good enough? Am I strong enough? Am I tough enough? And I think that has to get amplified by today's age. Everybody sees everybody's highlight film on social media. So they see all their friends that made maybe other choices to go somewhere, or they stayed home, and they see, hey, this is me jumping off the diving board in the deep end, or I'm out at the lake with my buddies. And now you're thinking, did I make the right choice for my life? So I think it's really difficult nowadays. And I think that grit here, like we try to develop that, and we empathize with them. But at the same time, sometimes it's better to drop them in the deep end and just say, hey, we're here if you need us. But it's sink or swim, kiddo. This is the big leagues. And so I think, for us, that's kind of one way that, I think we, I guess, portray and teach that grit.
Gosh, that's an everyday. I mean, so many people can probably relate to that, outside of basketball, of course, but just in our daily lives, there's times that we're all learning new things and we're all trying to figure out how to get through the day. And sometimes it's that reminder of, yep, we got to just sink or swim, figure it out. But the good thing is that you're standing there, as they're sinking, you're going to extend that hand and help them out in the best way that you possibly can, as long as they're reaching for your hand.
Amen. Yep, 100%.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to share or add? I know we've talked about a lot of different things, but we want to create some open space if there's anything specific you'd like to be able to share with our listeners too.
Yeah, I just think, I think a lot of young people, it's probably the mental health side of things is more prominent now. And I don't think it's because people are softer or generations before. We didn't have to deal with this stuff growing up with, one decision you make or, get caught on, it could blow up online and, a highlight of a game. There's so much more access to things now and access to people's lives to really get evaluated. And, this generation has to deal with that. And I think we minimize that a lot in the generations trying to lead this group that's coming up. And I think they are tough. I think they want direction. They want to be corrected. And our coaches speak, they want to be coached hard as long as they know that you love them and you care about them. They need that organization and that structure to be able to deal with all the different avenues that they have, because we've never seen anything like this before. And so, I would just encourage people, to really protect that, but to seek, help when they're going through a mental hardship from a professional. A lot of the times that's what I do tell our girls, like, I am not qualified in the space that you need help in right now, but we can help you get to a professional or get to somebody that can really help you navigate through this, because there's no wizards out there that will just touch you on your head and now you're okay. Like, at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to navigate out of this. So, that's would be my message to everyone out there, not just student athletes.
What a great reminder, because I think sometimes we need that for ourselves. I think sometimes it's easier to say that to other people, but sometimes having that hard look in the mirror to say, oh, okay, wait a second, I need to kind of reach that extra level of help too. We gotta give ourselves that grace to reach out and seek the help, because there's a lot of great people out there who are willing and ready to help. And knowing what that limitation is and how to access it. But the fact that you also extend the invitation to be a part of that process is also so powerful, because it's not go there and get that help. It's, hey, I can be a part of this, and let's help kind of get closer to what can help support you to kind of solve what's going on. Yeah.
I think that's a big part of what we try to talk about here on this podcast is, try to break down that stigma of mental health and wellness and being able to reach out and talk to someone about what's going on. And sometimes it's just, it could be anything. A lot of times people believe that reaching out and going and talking to somebody means there's got to be something big going on in your life. But it doesn't. It doesn't always have to be big. It could, whatever emotion and feeling that you're going through right now, if you feel like you need to talk to somebody, then you should. And break that down of, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
It just means that you're at a place where you need to express that so that you can fully see it and move forward with it. And one of the things that I love about our campus here is that we have so many programs for our students that can help them through any of those, anything that is going on. We also have that for our faculty and staff, because as you are navigating, you're going through all of these challenges in a new area and, a new team and recruiting and all the things, sometimes we as professionals need to take that time and express ourselves so that we can keep moving forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that for us, it's the same thing. And I especially think for the student athletes who I think sometimes fall into the pressure of trying to be tough, and maybe it's supposed to feel like this, and it's like, no, when it's hard to get up in the morning, it's not supposed to feel like that. Like you should seek the resources that we have here at Fresno State, and I think it's one of the things that makes this place so special.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of times when we live in that hamster cage of go, 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 and then there's a little bit of a downtime, they're like, wait, there must be something wrong. I'm supposed to be running. Well, we really appreciate you being here with us today and talking to us and sharing with us about your move and about your family and about the things that you were teaching your athletes, the leadership that you were providing to them. And sometimes we forget that our coaches and our faculty and our staff are humans, and that, we go through the same things everybody else does along with our students. And so thank you for being here today and sharing with us and our audience. We really appreciate that.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we have a few things that are coming up in the next couple of months. So it is springtime, and the thing about spring is always we start talking about Vintage Days. So everything Vintage Days. Will be in April. It's going to be in a different location, so be on the lookout to Campus News with all the information on how to buy tickets. Maybe we'll see you out there flipping pancakes this year.
Yeah.
So every year we have we invite our faculty, staff, and administrators to come out and flip pancakes for our community. This is an event that's open to faculty, staff, and students. It's also a nice fundraiser for staff assemblies, so we hope to see you out there. Another thing that we are doing on campus is that we are doing a prayer at the fountain. So third Wednesday of every month, we will be at the fountain and just a prayer for our faculty, staff, and students, and just our campus community as a whole. So we hope to see you at one or all of our events. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Bulldog State of Mind podcast. Join us for the next podcast in our series, released each month during our Red Friday celebration and available through our Fresno State Staff Assembly Executive Committee YouTube channel.